October 1986. First 2 weeks of October. Wow, that was horrible, but this is the way it goes. There's no editing here. And unless something absolutely horrible happens, there's no second takes. So, October 1986, the first 2 weeks of the month, I was still at Camp Bullis in San Antonio, Texas, doing special combat training. Then I went home to Ohio for a week of leave, and then off to California, Vandenberg Air Force Base, my first official post in the U.S. Air Force. And I'll talk more about Vandenberg in the next video. A week or less there in the month of October doesn't seem worth it to talk about in an October video here. So we're going to get right into the books. And right off the bat, the first book I read in October 1986 was Sudden Death by William X. Kinzel. Kenzel, I don't know how you say his name. If you watched the last video in this series, I had read Shadow of Death by William Kinzel. I'm just going to go with Kinzel. And when I talked about that, I said, I don't know if I've ever read any of his other stuff. Well, here we are, just a month later. Sudden Death. William X. Kinzel. This is another Father Kostler. I don't know how you say his name either. That's another Father Kostler mystery. It's about a football player who was murdered, and he and the father were both part of the same Bible book study, and so the father, the mystery solving Father Kostler, kind of focuses on that group. It's called the God Squad Bible study group, and he focuses on that group to try to find the killer. Obviously, I don't remember anything about it. I couldn't even remember last week when I was doing one of these videos. I couldn't remember that I'd even read another book by this author. So there you go. I mean, they must have been okay if I read two in 2 months, but not super memorable. Second book I read in October of 1986, Elric of Melniboné. Never been sure how to pronounce that. Elric of Melniboné. That's what I'm going to say. By Michael Moorcock, classic science fiction and fantasy author. This is the first book in the Elric saga. And it introduces us to Elric as an albino. He's the king. He doesn't really care about ruling the country, but there's nobody better, in his opinion, to do it. And his cousin, Yrkoon, man, I'm horrible at pronouncing things today. Yrkoon. Yrkoon? I don't know. Anyway, his cousin thinks he'd make a better king, I suppose. So, of course, they're fighting, and Elric is looking for these lost swords, Stormbringer and Mournblade. Stormbringer, big part of the Elric series. It's a soul-stealing sword. I don't remember anything about Mournblade. And there's a climactic battle, blah, blah, blah. It's fantasy. And I do recall I wasn't thrilled with this book. I'm gonna say it again like I did last week. I don't know that I've read any other Michael Moorcock. I was very excited about this. I liked the idea of this sort of weak-ish albino anti-hero, I think. And I don't know, the writing, just the style of writing, if I recall correctly, didn't thrill me. Again, we'll find out together if I read any others. But yeah, Elric. Number 3 for October 1986, Dragons of Autumn Twilight by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. This is the first book in the Dragonlance series, and basically it's Dungeons and Dragons in book form. I don't recall at the time if there were any official Dungeons and Dragons novels out yet. But I mean, it was fun fantasy. The dragons have returned to the world. People believe the old gods are gone, and I think I'm getting all this correct. Um, and with the departure of the old gods, healing magic is gone. And our main characters, I don't remember who any of them are. I'm sure it's like a rogue and a and an elf and a barbarian or whatever. I'm sure it's a diverse group. Um, they see somebody using a staff to heal somebody, and so this sort of becomes the focal point. They're trying to figure out if the old gods are still around, maybe get their hands on the staff. I think there's another group trying to get their hands on the staff. But basically, why are dragons back? But basically, it's a Dungeons and Dragons type adventure. You have this diverse group of characters traveling, encountering problems and other diverse characters and creatures, and there's action and adventure and stuff. Not bad. It's fun, light. I almost said light-hearted, but light fantasy as opposed to, say, Lord of the Rings and stuff. This is the kind of fantasy that I tend to like a little more. Because it tends to move at a fast pace, and you've got all sorts of crazy characters and creatures and things going on. Um, don't know if I read any more. Probably, but we'll see. And finally, only 4 books in October. I mean, it was a busy month, finishing combat training, going home, getting ready to go to California, and then going to California, all sorts of crazy stuff going on. It's only 4 books, and number 4 is Total War by Jerry Ahern. This is the first book in the Survivalist series. It's men's adventure. I don't know if it was published by Gold Eagle, but that's who I always think of as one of the premier uh, men's adventure publishers. These series, a lot of them were done by Gold Eagle, I believe is what it was called. But anyway, this is a post-apocalyptic kind of thing. America gets nuked, and the main character is John Thomas Rourke, and it's basically the story, at least in this first book, of him trying to get across the war-torn, nuclear-ravaged country, searching for his missing family. I don't remember if they were snatched, or maybe he was just on one side of the country, they were on the other when the nukes hit, and they've lost communication, and he's trying to find them. I don't remember the details, but it was the typical kind. I tried out a lot of this stuff. I like, it's kind of modern day, at least at the time, back in the 80s, modern day pulp fiction. Just crazy over the top, just action. It was like an 80s action movie kind of thing. So I enjoyed them well enough. And I know I read a few different things by Jerry Ahern. So that's it. Just 4 books in October of 1986. Big changes in my life. Finished all my training. I'm going to say all my training. I mean, there was, little thing. You had upkeep and stuff in the service every once in a while, but all my basic and tech school and all that stuff, all that was done, and I was heading off to my first official post. We'll get into Vandenberg Air Force Base next time, especially since there are even fewer books in November. Spoilers. So that's it for Reading Remembrances, October 1986. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. That's all I've got for you. So until next time, read more books.